What's up agents, Epic Slayers here, welcome back to a brand new Division video. So 1.8 has been out for a little while now and I think it's pretty obvious what are the best and worst gear sets in the game right now. Now in the most recent State of the Game, Massive announced that they are going to be looking at gear set balancing in future updates, and I thought it would be a good idea to put my input into the game and go over all the gear sets in the game and kind of say what I think about them, maybe some changes, and I'd like to get your feedback as well, so please leave your comments in the comment section below. Hopefully you do agree with me. I know a lot of you might not agree with me, but this is a discussion, so please bear that in mind. Hopefully you do enjoy this video regardless, so with that said, let's get into it. Right agents, so starting off we're going to look at Nomad. Now this is a very strong piece of gear which is really cool actually, but I would have to say that this gear set's had a lot of talk in the community just because it's got such incredible survivability that really no other gear set can match in that respect. Now what I would say about Nomad is that a lot of people have been saying, look, this should be a solo gear set, and whilst I understand that point of view, that does mean that if you were to go that way, you wouldn't be able to use Nomad in Skirmish or Last Stand, because both of those are team modes, unless of course the set was geared so that you could use it in those modes. So actually Nomad would only be able to use in PvE or like Dark Zone or, you know, stuff like that, for example. So I don't think it should be a solo gear set at all, I really don't. What I do think they need to do is, with the 6-piece, I really think that they need to sort of reduce the chance of it proccing after each use. So for example, at the moment, if you have a look at Nomad with the 6-piece, then on it says you get a 50% chance to have no cooldown for the path of Nomad. I think that should reduce every time it procs. So maybe at 50% it should go down to maybe 30%, down to 15%, and maybe you can only use it like 3 times, for example. I don't know. But I don't think it should be a solo gear set. I really just think that they should reduce the chance of you using it. It's kind of like having diminishing returns on electronics, but with this gear set, that's how it would work. Apart from that, the gear set in itself is absolutely fine, in my opinion. So, moving on, let's look at Predator, which I'm sure I have a Predator piece. Haha, here we go. So, with Predators, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about this gear set as well, because in the PTS, this gear set absolutely shredded. You could get to 9k stamina and then have low firearms, and you'd still melt people and be strong. And that's because of the 6-piece, which gives you, it ignores any bleed resistance that the other person might have, and also at 9k stamina, you get an additional 120% damage over time. At the moment, due to the fact that in Skirmish and Last Stand, everything is normalized to actually standard gear set values of 1272, you can't actually run a 9k stamina in 9k stamina Predators build in those environments. I don't believe you can anyway, so it kind of removes that. But if you go into the Dark Zone, then this is a very strong build. Now, I wouldn't say it's the best build in the game, I really don't. It's certainly not for PvP. And let me make it clear, guys, I will talk about PvE a little, but this is mainly focused around PvP because no one's really complaining about gear sets in PvE. You can almost run anything in PvE and do anything. It's PvP where this is coming from mainly. So that's really what I'm going to be looking at here. So for me, the major problem with Predator's Mark is the fact that it ignores bleed resistance. I hate that. I don't think it should ignore bleed resistance. I think that, you know, if you've got bleed resistance, it should negate Predators. That's what I think. And I also think that they need to sort of tune the amount of additional bleed damage you get, which currently sits at 120% if you're over 9k stam. I think they need to tune that value. Maybe test it at 60% or whatever the case may be, but I really think that's really what they need to do. Apart from that, I think Predators is absolutely fine. Now moving on to probably my least favourite gear set in the game, and this is Striker, and the reason why it's my least favourite is because I'm always getting melted by it. I do think that Striker is by far the best gear set in the game, by an absolute mile. I think it shreds Predator, it shreds Nomad, no problem, and it's also very strong in PvE as well. So for me, the major issue with Striker, which I will get onto, guys, if you have a look here, the 4-piece itself is not great, because at the end of the day, it obviously if you miss shots and you're not going to be getting your stacks, and then ultimately you're not going to be doing the damage that you need to do with Striker, because as you can see with the 3-piece here, you're getting 10% enemy armor damage. That doesn't really do anything in PvP. The same with a 5-piece. So there's no sort of native increase in damage like you get off Predator or Lungster or anything like that. So what you're getting is with the 4-piece is when you get those stacks up to 100%, then you're doing 100% more damage, if that makes sense. Now with the 4-piece, you are basically, if you miss shots, then that gets reduced drastically. But with the 6 piece is where it all kind of changes. And actually, with 6 pieces, it only goes down by 1% every second. And it's very easy to keep your sets. Even on console, as a console player, it's very easy to keep your stack at 100. Very easy. So that means you're doing a crazy amount of damage. More damage than any gear set can do in this game, I believe. So you've got a gear set here. When you're at 100 stacks, which isn't hard to get to, you're doing more damage than any other gear set in the game, okay? So if that wasn't enough, on top of that, at 100 stacks, you will see a noticeable difference in the amount of heal you get, okay? The amount of heal you get will be crazy. Honestly, it's so strong. It's stronger than the Nomad heal. Apart from that, the fact that Nomad overheals, it's still very strong. And if someone on your team, for example, is running Reclaimer, then if you're running Striker and you sit in a Reclaimer box, I mean, it's GG. You're not going to take that Striker person down. They're going to be melting you so quickly and getting so much heal so quickly, it's almost impossible at that point. So for me, the major changes are they need to reduce the heal amount significantly. I really think they need to reduce that. And it should be punishing for missing shots. I really do think that Striker is one of those gear sets. If you can get to 100 stacks, which requires a lot of skill, if you are, obviously, with a 4-piece, for example, it requires a lot of skill. If you are missing shots, you should not get the benefit of this gear set. And that might be the same for Predators, for example, where if you miss shots and you don't quite get the bleed that you need, if that makes sense. That's what I think, in my opinion. A lot of you might agree, but might disagree with me here, but that's just what I think. And I will say that for me, Striker is by far the best, at least in PvP, DPS and healing gear set there is. I mean, it's crazy strong, and that's why whenever I go into skirmish last time, whatever it is, I'm always getting wrecked by Striker. No other gear set wrecks me like Striker. Now, I normally just run Ninja Bike, you know, and some sort of hybrid. I can take down Predators, no problem. I can take down Nomads as well, because although, you know, there's a chance to proc, there is only a chance. With Striker, there is no chance. If you sit at 100% stacks, you're going to be melting people and getting a lot of heal as well. So there you go. That's just what I wanted to say about those. Now, with Lone Star, which I'm sure I have a piece on here somewhere. I'm pretty sure I have some Lone Star gloves sitting around here. Yes, I do. Now, Lone Star for me is in a good place. I think is a great gear set. I unfortunately don't have the full classified gear set. The only thing I would say is that shotgun damage is not important on this gear set. I mean, no one's using a shotgun with an LMG build. Everyone is using a shotgun with Striker. And this goes back to Striker as well. Stacking with shotguns is crazy. I just played a skirmish match and every person on the other team was running 6-piece Striker and 4 shotguns. And it was a complete slaughter. You just couldn't compete with it. Doesn't matter. Toe to toe, you just get melted. It's crazy. But anyway, Lone Star, I think it's a great gear set and I think it's fine as it is. The MG5, even the big Alejandro with someone like this, it's just crazy good. So I think that Lone Star should stay as it is. The only thing I would possibly look into is maybe removing the shotgun damage or changing that. I don't know how, but at least make shotguns on this build viable as opposed to using them on Striker, for example. D3, again, another great gear set. This is such a great gear set in like a squad, for example, and that's really what it's for. You're going to be using this in a squad. You're going to be getting all your buffs there from your 6-piece, and it's absolutely strong. You want to spend 9,000 stamina. You're going to be getting all that extra armor for your team and yourself, obviously, and also weapon damage for your team and yourself. So I think D3, as it is absolutely fine. Moving on to Sentry, I do have classified Sentry, I don't have a full set, but I'll just show you this piece here because it's right in front of you. Actually, I think I might have to find some classified piece for you. Here we go. Classified Sentry. So Sentry itself is a PvE gear set, which is funny actually because Sentry used to be one of those gear sets that you'd run with Striker and melt people when headshot damage actually mattered in PvP. But right now Sentry is a PvE gear set, and I think it's fine where it is. The only thing I would say is if they did want to maybe balance it so that it was good in PvP as well, which it doesn't have to. I'm completely fine with it being a PvE gear set. It's just simply changing the 6-piece from any target as opposed to just NPCs. And that way you could have someone with sentries and like an urban MDR sitting at the back of the map or wherever they want to be, marking people on the opposite team to help your team. So that would be the only thing. But apart from that, I think it's fine. Now, Reclaimer, I have a piece of Reclaimer somewhere. Reclaimer is, again, another great piece because the box on it, if you're sitting at max stats, then I cannot find a Reclaimer piece here. Am I blind or something? I'm pretty sure I have some Reclaimer on me, and I'm going to go find some. But anyway, Reclaimer is really strong. It gives you an amazing amount of healing speed. When you've got a box open or whatever, you're going to be healing a team, and that's what you want it for. At the end of the day, if you're running in a group, someone's going to be running Reclaimer. and it keeps everyone alive. Like I said, if you're running one Reclaimer and say 3 Strikers, I mean, you're dominating. No matter what you're doing, you are dominating. So yeah, Reclaimer is absolutely fine where it is. Final Measure, again, another great gear set, absolutely fine where it is. I mean, it offers a lot of utility for a team. Again, it has a great amount of exotic damage resilience. It's great against nades. It's great against pred. It's good in PvE. Fine where it is. I'd keep it as it is. Hunter's Faith, it had a bit of a rework, obviously, with Ambush and whatnot, and coming out with the classified versions. Again, Hunter's Faith for me is fine where it is. I think it's a very good PvE set. I think it's very good in PvP as well, under the right circumstances, and I wouldn't change it. I think where it is absolutely fine. Now, moving on to some of the gear sets that I would say really are underwhelming. So one of those is going to be, and I will find a piece, AlphaBridge. So for me, AlphaBridge is one of those gear sets I really wanted to play around with, but when I realised what it actually comes with, I haven't got any AlphaBridge pieces. Are you having a laugh? I mean, I did play Ambush. I mean, I didn't get a lot of stuff, unfortunately. I mean, I'm just... Aha! AlphaBridge knee pads. So, for me, the 6-piece is just... Obviously, it's only PvE, really, that's going to be useful. In PvP, it's not really that useful. I just think it's just so underwhelming. I don't really know what they can do with this piece. I mean, a lot of people have suggested bringing back the 6-piece talents, which is one thing that I believe that they had in the PTS. So having 6-piece... well, basically having 6 talents on your weapon. And I think that would be a really cool idea. I don't know if only having six talents would be good enough. Because, for example, at the moment, especially if you're running an SMG in PvP or whatever, you're probably going to be running Deadly, Unforgiving, and Responsive on like an SMG or even like an M4 or whatever you're running, really. Apart from that, any other talents that might be good, you might want to run Competent on there. But I can't really think of any other great damage dealing talents that don't at least require some electronics. What I mean by that is, for example, Competent, obviously you get that increased 10% damage every time you use a skill, but if you've got no electronics, then you're not going to be using that skill very often. So apart from that, I mean, I don't think 6 pieces on his own is going to be good enough. I think they'll need to do something else, but it is very underwhelming. I think a lot of people will agree with me here. Now, if you hear me flipping pages, it's because I have wrote a little bit of this down. Not much, bullet points, obviously, but I didn't want to just come in, you know, balls deep and not know what the fuck I was talking about. Excuse my language, demonetized, I know. Anyway, moving on to Banshee, and I'm 100% sure I've got some Banshee on me. I love me some Banshee. So Banshee is a Dark Zone dedicated PvP set. I love Banshee, and I love running it in the Dark Zone. It's very strong. You do have to be under the right circumstances. For example, looking at the 6-piece here, damage to Manhunt status players is increased by 2% for each Manhunt level the player has. So, obviously, that only comes into effect, really, if someone's sitting at 5-stage Manhunt. Of course, you need to be killed by someone who is already a rogue to get that increased damage from 10% to 20% as well. So, it does require certain circumstances, but when you're in those circumstances... This build absolutely melts. Now, I would say, for me, the damage to targets that I've covered on the 5-piece is too low. I think they should put that up to 10% as well. And they need to get rid of these looted DZ funds. No one cares about looted DZ funds. I don't know what they can do here. I mean, they could increase your movement speed, for example. When you're running Survivor Link, then your movement speed is... Because they've always said before, oh, we can't do much with movement speed because we don't have the engine for it. But you think about something like Survivor Link, that increases your movement speed significantly. So having something like that on Banshee would be great, because it would kind of be that manhunt chaser. The person, you know, where you're running after manhunts, you're faster than them, so you can catch up with them. I think that would be cool. Apart from that, I think Banshee is absolutely fine. Now, moving on to FireCrest, and I don't believe I have any FireCrest classified pieces, actually. I don't think I've got any from Ambush. I may have got... I can't find any. I'm sure I have some. I'm sure. Unless I've put them away, which... this isn't a great part of the video, but no, I'll find some. So basically, for me, FireCrest is underwhelming. I mean, in PvP, PvE, it's okay, but oh, here we go. In PvE, it's just PvP, it's just not there. I mean, they did decrease the amount of damage the turret does by about 35%, and I think that's had a real effect on this gear set. Now, I wouldn't change it back to the way it was before, but I would certainly, bring that back a bit. Maybe decrease the damage by 10% and tweak it and see how it goes. I think they need to remove the set bonus here of 3% incendiary grenade capacity. I don't think that's important. I think they need to do something with that. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe increase the health of the turret itself. or something like that. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I do think FireCrest, certainly in PvP at the moment, it's just not there. It really isn't. Yeah, in PvE it's fine, I think, but in PvP it's just not there, and that really needs to have a change. I'm not entirely sure what they could do with that, to be completely honest. Moving on to DeadEye, and I'm sure I have some DeadEye on me because I was running some DeadEye the other day, and I'm having a lot of fun for the first time in a long time using DeadEye. So DeadEye for me, when you've got Hunter's Faith, it doesn't really compete. Except for Hunter's Faith, you really need to hit headshots. Whereas on something like Console, where headshots are harder to come by, DeadEye works better, at least in my opinion. I would say that for me, DeadEye feels more of like a run and gun sniper build as opposed to a sit and cover sniper build like you would have with Hunter, where you get time to sort of pick at headshots, for example. What I'd probably like to see is something like, you know, you get 10%, or say 10 seconds out of cover at 100% crit chance if you're zoomed in. Something like that, allowing you that utility to sort of move from your cover and be moving whilst, you know, taking those shots and getting that damage. Apart from that, I haven't really got any suggestions, so you'd have to leave me some in the comment section below. That would be great. And then lastly, probably the most underwhelming piece of gear in the whole of Ambush, and I'm sure I have some, I'm sure you guys already know what it is because I've missed it out, and that's Tactician's Authority. Now, I've never been a skill player before, and actually before Ambush came out, I had to ask a lot of you guys what the 6-piece actually meant, because to me it was like, you know, Morse fucking code. Again, demonetized. Sorry. Anyway, it was like Morse code. I didn't understand it, but I got the idea now. From what I can tell, it's just not good. I mean, you'd much rather be running a 9K electronics final measure build, and you're going to get a lot more from it than you would, for example, like Tacticians. Now, I do think that the 6-piece should always be at 60%. I don't think it should go down to, you know, 30% or whatever it is. I think it should be at 60%. And if they can't do that, I think they should remove the 6-piece altogether. And I think it's something entirely new, because I'm not 100% sure how to fix this gear set. I do not think that having 5% skill haste and 5% skill power on a 5-piece set bonus is strong enough at all. I think if you run Tacticians, you should get the max amount of skill haste. If you run 6-piece Tacticians, you should get max skill haste, without a doubt. And I think the skill power amount needs to be significantly increased. The issue being that once you get to a certain amount, there are diminishing returns, which is why I say significantly increased and not a little bit more. But I don't have any ideas, guys, about this one. I really don't have any ideas about how to fix this gear set. But right now, it's not in the meta whatsoever. It's completely out of it. And most people who are running, you know, skill builds are running either 9K electronics final measure, or they're running Reclaimer at the end of the day, or they might be running something like FireCrest if they want a bit of fun and flame or whatever. But there you go, guys. That's my opinion. Of course, there will be stuff that you guys don't agree with, and that's absolutely fine. This is an open discussion. I want you to leave your comments in the comment section below, because at the end of the day, they are going to be making gear set changes. That's an absolute given. And I would say, and I've said this before, they are going to nerf gear sets. They are not going to buff the rest of them, because it is far easier to nerf 3 gear sets which sit at Nomad, Predator, and Striker than buff, you know, 11 gear sets. They just don't have time to do that, and they won't. So expect that, unfortunately. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for your support, and until the next one, Epic out.